Everybody, thank you for being here. What a pleasure it is to sign on every week. I've been thinking quite a bit about our last talk around, really identifying, rejuvenating, renewing emotions and depleting and draining emotions. Now, that's not to say that one is better than the other. They both make up the human experience, don't they? We are constantly giving energy and ideally receiving energy, right? So eating, sleeping, all of these things to receive energy, rejuvenate, charge the battery, and then we give energy throughout our day, physically, emotionally, and energetically. So we're constantly, depleting and rejuvenating. We live within those rhythms. And so again, it isn't that one is bad or one is good. We're just looking to gain more self-awareness, because in the self-awareness, we can create a choice point. We can create a pause moment where we can choose how we want to feel, and we can reclaim our vitality, and we can hone our vitality. So that's a very powerful ability through our self-awareness, because we are constantly interacting with life, and we're constantly in that give and take exchange. And so the self-awareness is so powerful for our overall well-being, for our ability to be productive, to be in relationship, to create, to thrive, basically, right? So the self-awareness here is what we are after. And so last week I suggested that and invited everyone to try to become more aware of what emotions are being felt and how they are impacting you in the moment. Because we do know through science-based research that once you are in a state of stress, it can take some time for the body to re-regulate those hormones and the body chemistry and the impacts that that has on your overall operating system, health, organs, blood, everything, right? Emotions. So even if we feel like we've gotten through the stress, there is a longer period of time for the body to regulate. And we want to be aware to preserve our vital energy, right? Our vital force is our greatest resource. Yes, I'm hoping I'm reaching you and that this live is working. So I'm gonna just continue here. So again, most of you know that where I've learned a lot about this and have gained a lot of personal self-awareness is through the science founded by the HeartMath Institute. And so this is how I'm sort of presenting this information to you. There's lots of different schools of thought around this and many different methods of practice, but it's beneficial again for us to, look at something from many different angles, and gain what we can around that, and what works for us, and accelerates our self-awareness. So I really appreciate the HeartMath teaching. So again, last week I kind of invited you to see what you noticed about your week, what you noticed about your emotional patterns, and trying to witness it from a neutral place. Not one is better than the other, or you're doing it right or wrong, but just to witness. And so this week I just thought I would offer you a tool that the HeartMath Institute uses, and that I also use in the Resilience Advantage training that I do. And it is online, so there's opportunity for us all to meet there. You can always just DM me. So what I'm going to do is show you the Depletion to Renewal grid. And this is something that you can download to have a formal template, or you can literally just draw a cross on a piece of paper and go from there as well. But the template is interesting, and again, it's a research-based tool, so it does give us some step-by-steps, sort of the science to the art. And again, there is two polarities that we oscillate in between constantly as a human organism, science and art. So let me take the camera down and just show you this tool, and break it down a little bit, so that you can recreate it at home. But like I said, if you want me to send it to you, I can. Okay, I just dropped my pen. Okay, so wish me luck here. I'm gonna turn the camera. This is my office, and I'm gonna just point it down here at the grid. So yes, this is kind of working, I hope. I have my shoes off. Something about being rejuvenated, it's being comfortable. Okay, I'm sorry, this is a bit of a wiggling process here. Okay, so here we go. Here's the grid. So you can see it's divided into 4 quadrants, and on this side it is saying depletion. Here it is, depletion to renewal grid sheet, and we can see this little battery here on this side. Depleting emotions is showing that the battery is down and needs to be charged. Over here we see renewing emotions, where the battery is highly charged. Okay, so the depleting emotions cover the left side, top and bottom quadrant, and the renewing emotions cover the right side, top and bottom. Okay, so another thing that we're looking at here are these 2 lines. So this line is representing the autonomic nervous system. Okay, and we know that that is the part of our nervous system that regulates functions and feelings automatically. Okay, and so that's what that line is representing. And then over here, this is the hormones representing the 2 main hormones, 2 main biomarkers, cortisol and DHA. Okay, so this is, again, just kind of simplifying this grid a little bit so it makes more sense. So depleting emotions on the left, renewing on the right. But what's on the top here is the sympathetic aspect of the autonomic nervous system. So the sympathetic nervous system is at the top of depleting and renewing. And then at the bottom, if you can see that with this lighting, is the parasympathetic. So that's at the bottom here of the grid. Sorry, this isn't working as easily as I thought. Maybe what I'll do is just stand up. Thanks for bearing with me, everyone. I can just be in my true form here without feeling badly about any of that. So yes, here's the parasympathetic aspect of this grid. So we know the sympathetic aspect of the autonomic nervous system is when things are accelerated, heart rate is high, that's the go mode of the nervous system. And then the parasympathetic is like the brakes, the slow down function of the autonomic nervous system. And so the parasympathetic is a lower heart rate and the sympathetic is higher heart rate. Okay, so sympathetic in the depleting quadrant, sympathetic in the renewing quadrant, parasympathetic in the depleting quadrant, parasympathetic in the renewing quadrant. Okay, so these quadrants are designed for you to be able to place emotions that you're feeling into the quadrants and develop more self-awareness around what you're feeling in your day, week. Look for patterns and be able to identify those patterns that are rejuvenating or depleting. And again, that's where the choice point comes in, where you can really decide for yourself how you want to feel, and you can activate the tools that Sarah and I have been practicing through the heart and creating that coherence in order to really build that self-awareness, take charge, and use this tool to inform you more and more about your overall physiology as well. So really preserving your health. So the interesting thing about it is, I'm just going to switch back. Hopefully that's still visible. So this is the grid. And so last week I did ask if you had any opportunity to write down some of the emotional patterns that you were observing. Were there any renewing emotions that you felt during the week more often, and found, because when we're in that renewing section, we're building resilience, we're able to regenerate, right? So DHEA is the regenerating hormone, and cortisol can be in excess a degenerating hormone, right? So again, we want to choose, how do we want to feel, and B, how do we want our physiology, our body chemistry to be operating. So so we can just name out some emotions and put them on the quadrant, because there is some interesting feedback that you can get from this. So what's an emotion where your heart rate is going to be high, your nervous system is going to be operating in the sympathetic realm? So one might say this could be fight or flight instinct. So what would be an emotion that you could identify for yourself that can go in this quadrant? For me, panic or fear can come up, and that's obvious, where your sympathetic nervous system is in overdrive and you're just going in that fight or flight mode. Now, what's interesting is we could put panic and fear in this quadrant as well, but it's in the parasympathetic side, right? So the lower quadrants are parasympathetic, the upper quadrants are sympathetic. And so this could be more of the freeze response, right? where we could be feeling panic and fear, but our heart rate is not accelerated, and we're not busy running around in that fight mode, or, you know, needing to be busy or like go into overcare where we're doing too much overcare, you know, this. So that would be more with an accelerated heart rate. So it's interesting to just gain the awareness that panic and fear can be felt and expressed through the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. And so really identifying that for yourself is quite powerful. And, you know, getting more specific with the emotions are important as well. So then on the renewing side, what renewing feelings can you identify in your week where you might have been in the sympathetic nervous system, where you're in go mode? You know, definitely joy and excitement can be an example, right? Where you're feeling the go mode, and these rejuvenating emotions are being felt, and you're, you know, releasing DHEA, so your body is regenerating and healing. It's quite powerful. And then down here, what are renewing feelings that, you know, have a lower heart rate, where you're more in the parasympathetic expression? You know, definitely feeling calm, feeling ease, right? So again, these are things for you to identify and understand if there's any patterns there in your emotions. So, you know, because we want to lean more towards resilience, towards regeneration, than we do depletion, cortisol addiction, you know, degeneration in the physiology. So this is a really cool tool where you can start to hone in even more on your self-awareness and be able to create that choice point that we're talking about, right? So if you're feeling a fight, flight, freeze, fawn response, then you can take an opportunity to go into the heart and do that quick coherence technique. And the rejuvenating emotions that you've identified you can access during the quick coherence technique in order to help you gain that resilience, help you self-regulate, right? So again, we're using this tool, the depletion to renewal grid, to just, again, gain more awareness, create more choice point. And so let's just, I'm going to fuss with the camera here. Sorry, just going to shake around. There we go. Let's just take an opportunity to reflect on the week and really check in with what we wrote down on the grid. And again, you can have that template if you need it, just let me know, but you can just quickly write it out on a piece of paper as well. And so one of the depleting emotions that I identified was fear, and it was in the lower quadrant of the parasympathetic, so it was more freeze response. And so what I can do to switch that over to the rejuvenating side of the grid is to really focus on the joy and calm that I felt this week, just from being in nature and seeing the beauty of sun and spring, and really feeling the potential of the season change and just that beauty, right? So let's do that. Let's just kind of sit with ourselves. Hi, Timmy. Nice to see you here. If you're just tuning in, we were talking about identifying rejuvenating feelings versus depleting feelings, and understanding how they impact our physiology, body chemistry, hormone release, and just claiming that power back in order for us to choose how do we really want to feel, and ultimately choose our long-term health right? And thriving in life rather than just surviving. So yeah, have a look back at the video for more explanation. But right now what we're going to do is just check in with or take this opportunity together to do the quick coherence, which is one tool in the Resilience Advantage program that really does help us take that control, not control, but I guess control. It doesn't have to be a bad thing, right? Just gives us that opportunity to really participate in our choice to thrive and heal. So I'm just going to tune into myself here and again connect into my heart. Slow the breath down because the heart rate is feeding messages to the brain as to what level the brain is going to operate on. So is it going to get into the amygdala where fight, flight, freeze, fawn, and all of those instincts override the rest of the brain function? Or is our heart rate going to signal to the brain to drop into theta wave where we can rejuvenate, heal, and gain awareness of our ability to self-direct, self-regulate, to heal? So yeah, just dropping into the heart, focusing on the area of the heart is helpful. You can put your hand there if you need to. And my mind is going to be busy with those feelings of fear and panic, the freeze feelings that I experienced this week. So I'm just going to allow that to come up on the screen of my mind and see my thoughts on that screen. See my actions, see my behaviors that might show me that freeze, depleting energy that's being expressed through the parasympathetic nervous system. So it's kind of a dullness, apathy. And now I'm just going to keep breathing through the area of my heart, and I'm going to take a few steps back from my mind screen and thank it for showing me these emotions and the patterns and behaviors I have identified through my self-awareness. And as I step back and give this gratitude, I'm going to now activate that joyful feeling I had from being in nature and seeing its beauty. I'm going to activate the feeling of calm. And after that feeling kicks up, I may then have visuals that my imagination brings. Again, very different than the mind visuals. I'm just going to activate that joy and calm. Again, I'm in the parasympathetic nervous system right now. But I'm moving my physiology and my hormonal chemistry towards rejuvenation. So I'm just going to keep activating that feeling of calm. And with each breath, I'm going to try to send it through my whole body. And as you do that, if you start to feel any pain sensations show up, just put your attention there, move, breathe, love, and accept all those parts. As you keep activating the feeling of calm and joy. eventually with this practice, you'll feel the physiological shift, not just with like pain stopping, but how you're sending those hormones out into your whole system. You can feel it spreading. And you can really, so beautiful. When you realize what you can do for yourself through your self-awareness, when you realize how you can heal yourself, how you can change patterns, how you can create the life you want, it is very exciting. And you can do that with your eyes open. You don't have to be sitting in a meditative situation all by yourself. This is my office. You know, no, I mean, I had to do that even on the way to work this morning because I was late or my phone died and I was like, oh my gosh, you know, feeling all those things. And, you know, no, I identified, I was self-aware of those depleting emotions and was able to keep driving here, but activate those rejuvenating emotions around, you know, loving myself and accepting myself and trusting that, yes, okay, I'm stumbling a little bit here because I'm a woman who's going through menopause and I'm married, I have teenage sons, and I just, you know, there's so many levels to life, right? But yeah, you can do it in a moment. And I shifted myself out of those depleting energies and was able to really feed my nervous system, my body, with that love and acceptance instead of, you know, being like, so you can do it on the go. That is part of what is so brilliant about learning this practice, is that you can really do it on the go. Or in a meditative quiet moment. And it is all about choice and taking your sovereignty back over how you want to feel and function in the short-term moment and in the long term of your life as well. So I hope that that was helpful. And if you did have any questions, please just post them below and I will watch out for them and respond. So lots of love. Happy Friday. And, you know, keep up the practice. Just keep observing and writing down what you observe in your week as far as what emotions you're feeling, what patterns you're in, and just keep working the tools. You know, there's so much radical love, self-love and acceptance. I believe Sarah started the week talking about that. That's required from all of us right now for our own inner child, our own sensitive hearts. So much radical self-acceptance and love is needed so that we can really be the change we want to see in the world. I mean, we're all quite aware of how chaotic the times can feel in our microcosms of our life and in the macrocosms of politics and the world right now. So I really wish you all the best. And, you know, this tool is one way for you to really take your sovereignty back over how you want to feel and function in the short term and in the long run. So lots of love. Sarah and I will be back next week, and I can't wait for that. We'll just continue to talk about these vital life tools. So lots of love again. Happy Friday, and bye for now.